Hi, my name is Jeff and welcome to the workshop. Today we're going to talk about the jointer. This is the jointer that I've been using for more than 10 years, and it has a lot of features that are common to many jointers, and this is a tool that can be very intimidating for new woodworkers. So I want to take a moment, make a quick video, and talk about why I selected the one that I purchased and the advantages and disadvantages to this type of a jointer. As I said, this is a tool that I purchased more than 10 years ago, and I've put thousands of board feet across it, and it's still doing a great job. This is a 6-inch jointer, and by 6 inches, that measurement is the width of the knives here. So I can joint up to a 6-inch wide board. There are 3 knives on the cutter head here, and they can be resharpened, or you can purchase new ones as you need to. The way a jointer works, you've got a 90-degree fence to the bed, and as you bring your piece across, you're taking a little bit off the joint, and the trick when you're setting up your jointer is this infeed table leads up to the blade, and the outfeed table makes up the difference of what you're cutting off. So as you bring your board across, it ends up very much a square edge, and then 90 degrees to the face that you're running against the fence here. This particular model, and part of the reason I selected it, is a long bed jointer. I've got 8-foot long boards, and the previous jointer I had was a 4-inch, so smaller cutter head, and much shorter tables. When I got anything in the 8-foot range, as far as boards, they got very tippy, and it wasn't as precise. If I had a short board, like this piece of red oak here, you can see here's an unfinished rough edge, and this is a jointed edge. Actually, looks like it's cut on the saw, but it's a square edge. So if I was going to bring this piece through the jointer, I would bring it through, contact the knives. It's going to take a slight cut. I've got it set for about a 1/16 of an inch, and then as it comes back through, the second table is going to support it, and that's going to give me a 90-degree cut. The jointer works well for edges, and that's predominantly how I use it. Most of the material I get is 4/4, 6/4, 8/4. So if you had a board that you needed to face joint, this board is slightly wider than the 6 inches, and it would be more difficult to do the whole board. If you had a board that had a twist and warp in it, this would take that out. So you'd want to rip it to less than 6 inches and then run it across the jointer. So a little bit about the machine. I've got it hooked up to a 4-inch dust collection port. This does create a lot of wood chips. I've also got it on a mobile base so I can move it around depending on the length of the boards that I'm jointing, so I know how much infeed and outfeed space I need. So let me fire it up here with the dust collector. If you don't run the dust collector, it'll plug up. So that's why I want to run the dust collector. And I'm going to show you on this board. So again, bring this board in here. You can see it's rough right off the sawmill. It's a rough, unfinished edge. We're going to joint it and smooth it up here. Alright, let's run this board through here. Watch my hand position as I push down on the table when I run the board through. Running it through a second time, I can see I still need to take a little bit more off the edges. On both ends here, I'm not getting a cut. The jointer's cutting in the middle, but not from the ends here and here. So we'll run it through again. This is the process of making the curves in the edges to a square 90-degree end. Pulled the guard aside here so you can see the blades. Some people call this type of guard a pork chop guard. Again, see the downward pressure with my back hand as I come across the blades. Nice and smooth. Try the other side here just to get another pass on the jointer. Let me show you how this works with a 8-foot board. These are some 4/4 cherry boards we're going to run through the jointer here. Again, you can see the same hand position as I feed it through. I walk my hands hand over hand all the way through, and you can hear the cutter doing its job as it works across the board. You have to listen to your machine and you can really hear it doing the work. Here's another perspective on the boards coming across the bed of the jointer. Watch the edge of the board and you can see at the beginning it's not in contact with the cast iron bed, and as the board slides down, now you can see it's in contact with the bed and the jointer is making it square. Each pass I'm taking between a 32nd and a 16th off, depending on the cutting height I have the jointer set for. So it'll take several passes to get this edge completely even. Here's looking straight on at the fence and the bed as I run another cherry board across. You can see I'm taking more off the ends to bring the ends flush with the center. For this project, I'll continue to work through my stack of lumber and mill one edge 90 degrees to the face through this stack of boards. Then I'll take the boards to the table saw and cut them into the widths that I need them. Got some really nice lumber here to work with, making some cherry cabinets, doors, and face frames. You can see after several passes it's nice and smooth. Got a great edge, and most importantly, if I get my square out, come right in here. We're 90 degrees to that face. And that's what's important, and that's the advantage to the jointer. Jointers can be difficult to set up, but fortunately, this machine has held its settings very well and needs minimal adjustment. To adjust it, you've got wheels that crank on the infeed and the outfeed. Here's a lever and a wheel on this side and a wheel on that side, and you'll adjust that, and you use test boards to make sure, again, as you're infeeding, you're cutting off, and then that's exit table and outfeed table is supporting the distance that you cut, and you get a nice cut like that. So I hope that was helpful. If you're in the market for a jointer, this is a great machine. It's an expensive machine, but as I said, I purchased it more than 10 years ago, and I've ran thousands of feet of board feet through it. I would buy it again in a heartbeat, and I'd buy many of the other jointers that are out there on the market right now. I don't have a specific brand loyalty in my shop. You can see I have tools from many of the different manufacturers that I've purchased through the years. A lot of question and discussion about jointers comes around 6-inch or 8-inch and larger, and there are jointer planer combos that do go much larger. I found a 6-inch works for my needs. As I said, if I have to face joint something, I'll rip it in half. If it's wider than 6 inches, joint both pieces and glue it back together, and usually the glue joint is very minimal. I'm very fortunate the sawmill that I get most of my rough lumber from comes very square, and he dries it very well, so I don't have a lot of warp and twist that I'm dealing with. But again, this definitely works for that. And a lot of the material I'm working with is less than 6 inches, so the 6-inch jointer has never been a limitation for me. That being said, if I was buying a new one, I'd probably buy an 8-inch just to have the additional capacity. And you can see I can adjust the fence here side to side, so I'm not cutting on the edge of the blade. I can move all the way across those blades for edge jointing, and throughout the time of use, I'm not using the same spot in the blades, and they don't become dull as fast. The other discussion, these are straight blades. When you look, they're 3 straight blades. The newer machines come with a helical cutter head, or they'll have little carbide inserts that are adjustable, and again, I think there's some significant advantages to that. For something like this red oak, this does fine on a straight knife, but do something with some curl to it, or some more figured wood, you definitely would see some chip out and tear out. So it's important, as I demonstrated, to look at your wood, look at your grain, and make sure you're graining your grain runs downhill as you're running it across the jointer, and that'll help you prevent the tear out and chipping and get you a much smoother cut like this one has here. So if I was in the market to buy a joiner, I would look at a 6-inch for a home workshop. This is more than sufficient for my needs. I would consider the Helical cutter head if that was something that you're interested in. They run a little quieter, and the advantage, if you do have a chip, these I can adjust the knives to work for a little chip in the knives. If I hit a piece of metal or something in the board, the Helical cutter head, you can just rotate the cutter and you have 4 sides and they last a long time. My blade knife life in here, the knives have lasted quite a while with minimal resharpening or replacement. But you got to be careful, make sure you don't have metal in your wood or you're going to go through a lot more blades. So hopefully that was helpful. If you're in the market for a jointer, hopefully this helps you understand a little bit about this piece of woodworking equipment. It's a core tool in all woodworking shops. I specifically had strategically mine placed here. It's a little bit taller than the outfeed table on my table saw. So the table saw, I want it out of the way if I'm pushing longer material through there. But I also have room that I have 8 feet in and 8 feet out, outfeed if I'm doing large 8-foot boards like this. So hopefully that was helpful. If you found that information helpful, or you have other questions or comments, or you have other experience with a joiner that you'd like to share, please put a comment below and let me know what you think. And I'd very much appreciate it if you enjoyed and found some value in what you learned today. If you would press the thumbs up and like button, and you consider subscribing to the channel. I'd be honored if you join me again in the workshop. Thank you, and have a great day.